Congressman Andy Kim thought he'd have an uphill battle for the Democratic Senate nomination until New Jersey First Lady Tammy Murphy suddenly dropped out. Now the race looks a whole lot easier. But, you know, you entered the race on a whim, and then all of a sudden you had to face Tammy Murphy. How did that feel, and did that make you think maybe I should quit, maybe I should drop out?
Well, I will say, you know, I jumped into this Senate race. I did not plan to run for Senate. It was not something I was expecting to do. I jumped in only 24 hours after the indictment of Senator Menendez. I remember I couldn't go to sleep that night. I just felt like I had to do something.
And you decided to do it because you felt what?
I felt like New Jersey deserved the choice. You know, the people of New Jersey deserved a choice. And I was really worried that, you know, he would survive this in the same way that he survived the last indictment, and, you know, that we wouldn't have the kind of accountability that was necessary. So I took a chance. I put my whole career in the line. I was not able to run for re-election in the House. But you're right. Once I got word that the First Lady, Tammy Murphy, was going to jump in, I mean, you know, that is the most powerful political family in the state of New Jersey. And it was very intimidating. And I had a number of party leaders tell me, they call me up and tell me that I should drop out and run for re-election in the House of Representatives. But
why didn't you do that? That was a safe choice.
Look, I think I just, you know, what I told one of them in the call is I said, I don't think I could look my two little boys in the eye. Like, I was 6-year-old and 8-year-old, two little boys. I don't think I could look them in the eye if I was stepping down, you know, to pave the way for someone else who I thought, you know, I could do this job. Like, you know, I think I am the stronger candidate. I think I am the person with more experience that can help serve our state. I don't want to step aside just because, you know, I think someone else is, you know, more connected and more powerful politically than I am.
So when she dropped out, how did you feel? A surprise, elated?
Yeah, well,
I got a chance? What?
It was a surprise. I'll be honest with you. I still haven't fully processed it.
You didn't think it was coming?
I did not expect it to come. I was ready to fight this all the way to, you know, 8 p.m. on June 4th. And look, I'm going to still press hard. I only know one speed, so I'm going to continue to press hard.
You also still have a primary.
Yes, exactly. There are other competitors in the race, so I want to make sure that I'm engaging. And look, I want to meet as many voters as possible. But what I will say, though, is that, yes, I'm still kind of processing all the news over the last few days. And I have to say, it is a testament to the unbelievable energy from the people, the grassroots, you know, whereas the political elites, even my congressional colleagues in Congress, you know, supported the First Lady over me. It was very lonely for a while. I thought, you know, I felt like I was kind of radioactive. People in politics in New Jersey didn't want to be seen in public with me.
But now things have changed.
Because of the people. I mean, we started doing these events in houses and restaurants and bars all over the state of New Jersey. And I wasn't sure who, you know, if anyone was going to show up, but all of a sudden we started having packed houses and people showing up, people saying like they want to hear what I have to bring to the table. And that's when I realized that there's something amazing happening in New Jersey. You know, something was catching fire.
But Bob Menendez still looms large over this race, and his threat to run as an independent could prove a problem.
It could prove a problem. And,
I mean, it could divide the Democratic vote.
It could, and that's why I feel like I would be the strongest candidate to go up against, you know, potentially him as well as a Republican candidate. You know, I am, of the candidates left in the Senate race, I am the only one who has run and won an election before. I won 3 previous races.
And in a seat that was Republican before.
Correct. Yeah, I was a Democrat that twice won a district that Trump won twice. You know, in the year 2020, I was one of only 7 Democrats in the entire nation that won a district Trump won. So it shows that, you know, I can outperform. I outperformed Joe Biden by 8 points in 2020 to win this district. So the strength of my ability to outperform partisanship, to build a coalition of independent voters, even some Republicans, I think it puts me in a strong place to not only beat a Republican, but overcome any type of challenge from a third party, whether that be someone with the last name Menendez or not.
So let me ask you this question. You're still a congressman. I wonder how you feel about a bill introduced by Mikey Cheryl, a fellow congresswoman from New Jersey, that would limit Bob Menendez's access to classified information. Is that something that you would support, you would vote for? You will have to vote on it if it comes to the floor.
Yeah, look, I still need to read through it, but you know, from my understanding of it, it does sound like something that I would support. You know, I worked in national security prior to my time in Congress. I've had a security clearance for this country for over half of my life. I understand what it means to have to deal with classified information. I respect it. It's important. Lives are on the line about this, and we need to be careful. And certainly
he was chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee for a long time until he got indicted.
Yeah, but you know, when he got indicted, the charges are about potential cases where one of the charges is acting as a foreign agent. You know, so yes, he was, you know, the most powerful person on Capitol Hill for foreign policy, but there are concerns that he was using that power for purposes that weren't serving our national interests, was instead serving his personal interests. So that's alarming. But look, I mean, you know, that's also something that could potentially apply to former President Donald Trump and others. Like, you know, I do think we need to take a look at how it is that we divulge and share the most sensitive and important information that our country safeguards.
Well, since this bill basically says that if you've been indicted on criminal charges, not convicted but indicted, you should have be restricted to your access to classified information, it would apply to Donald Trump. So do you think that because of that, it won't get support from Republicans in the House and that its fate is difficult? Or do you think some Republicans and Democrats would make it pass?
I think there's a good chance that this gets politicized, and you know, I'd have to kind of think through it some more. But I mean, that would be a shame if it is, because, you know, as I said, I used to work at the State Department, the Pentagon, the White House National Security Council. We used to have a saying that, you know, the last thing that you want in the Situation Room is partisan politics. You know, like, we should not be making decisions about our national security, thinking about elections, thinking about our partisan politics. You know, that is a place where we have to safeguard what it means to be American and what our national interests are. So that would be a real shame if that happened.
So the big issue, one of the biggest issues facing the country today is what's going on in the Middle East, and the call or the demand by some that there should be a ceasefire in Gaza. I wonder where you stand on that. Yeah,
look, I mean, you know, this is one of the most difficult conflicts I've ever seen in my life, and I say that as someone who's worked in diplomacy in the Middle East and elsewhere. You know, it is a situation where we have to think about how do we lift up security for everybody there. I do believe at this point there needs to be an end to this war, an end to this conflict. We need to be able to get those hostages out of there. You know, I made a promise to many of the families of the hostages that I met. We need to get them out of there. Right now, we're seeing a humanitarian catastrophe unlike anything I've seen in my life. I worked at the U.S. Agency for International Development. There's a incoming famine here right now that would be devastating. We would see a death toll well beyond what we've seen right now. So I believe we need to be able to bring this violence to a close. We need to make sure that it's immediate, that it's permanent, that, you know, that we have that bilateral ceasefire that's able to push this forward and allow for the hostages to get out and to surge humanitarian support getting in to save as many lives as possible.
How did you feel about what Chuck Schumer said?
About Netanyahu and
you know,
broadly?
Basically what he says is not only a ceasefire, but there needs to be a new election to replace Netanyahu.
Well, look, you know, I certainly have my concerns about some of the policies that Netanyahu has been pushing forward. I think that, you know, the United States and Israel continues to have, you know, a partnership that needs to be able to endure just the current leadership that's there. But, you know, there are a lot of concerns that I have. You know, it's up to the Israelis in terms of when and how they conduct their elections. But, you know, certainly I am frustrated by some of what I've seen, and especially in terms of the challenges with getting humanitarian assistance in and other policies there. And I'm hopeful that we can have this diplomatic breakthrough right now that Secretary Blinken and others are pushing on. I really do hope that we can find a way. You know, the top priority I keep hearing from everyone, whether Israeli officials that I talk to or Jewish American families here in New Jersey, New York area, is get the hostages out. You know, let's try to make sure we prioritize that, try to bring this to a close.
Well, Congressman, we're going to have to leave it right there for now, but our conversation continues right after the show on our streaming channel, CBS News New York.